Welcome to the Bloom Where You're Planted podcast from Never Too Late Cafe. I'm your host, Laura Womack. Each week, we sit down for a chat with someone just like you, someone who had an idea, a passion, a dream, or sometimes just a thought, and planted that seed, watched it grow into something they wanted to share with the world. If you have an idea for a topic or someone that would be a guest for the Bloom Where You're Planted podcast, feel free to reach out to us on Facebook, or you can join our Never Too Late Cafe Facebook group. We'd love to hear from you. Today I have a very special guest with me, Renee Leadingham. So, hi Renee, how are you today?
I'm good, thanks, Laura.
Well, this is exciting. We were talking previously a little bit that I don't always get to know someone that we get to chat, but Renee and I do know each other, so that's cool. So, where are you currently living?
I am in South Shore, Kentucky.
And is that where you're from originally?
It is not. I claim Kentucky as my home now. I've been here for, I guess since, 1993. But my dad was military, so we moved around a lot. I spent 3 years in Germany, then went to New York, upstate New York. That's where I graduated high school. And then we came back to this area when he got out of the Army. So he's from Portsmouth. So we are kind of relocated back here, and this is home now.
Wow, I didn't know that. See, isn't it amazing? I didn't know you lived in Germany. I didn't know that you were a military kid. How interesting. So, your art form is you do a lot of different things. I know that let's just go into what your art form is and tell us a little bit about where you created at and that sort of thing.
Okay. I've always kind of been a crafter. Growing up, I can remember crafting with my grandmother. But most recently, I started with the tumblers, which a lot of people are doing tumblers these days. It's you're decorating them with epoxy and glitter, and a lot of times you're putting words or sayings on them. I started doing that a few years ago, probably 3 years ago or so, and I just loved it. I mean, to me, crafting is therapeutic.
Mm-hmm.
So once I kind of got the hang of epoxy, then I expanded into doing keychains and earrings. So those were my first few things that was pretty easy to do with the epoxy. But for me, for everybody, you really need good ventilation. You need to not do epoxy related crafts inside your home, ideally. So I have a little area out on my back deck that we have separated off, and that's where I do all of my epoxy crafts. But
I was just thinking of the smell,
Yes, absolutely. It is not healthy to breathe epoxy for long periods of time. But epoxy has to be a certain temperature for it to cure. So it's very difficult to do it during the cold months. So I get a little antsy, and so I start trying other things. So then I started I absolutely love the look of acrylic paint pours. So I started working on vases where I would pour paint over vases, which has turned out really great. Then most recently, I have discovered pouring what they call acrylic skins, which is just pouring the paint out on something like wax paper or something that you can easily pour it off or pull it off of. And you can I glue like clear embellishments on it, and you can make earrings and necklaces. And so I've been doing that, and it is so much fun. Like I say, I look at crafting as therapeutic. I love it. It gives me kind of an outlet, whether a creative outlet or just to kind of not think about other things for a while, just to kind of create.
Well, I just want to go back real quick. The tumblers, those are like the water water bottle kind of thing, right? The
Yes.
tumblers. Yeah, okay.
Yes. Yeah. They're stainless steel. Um, they need to be stainless steel in order to do the epoxy. Um, but they're great. You can get those in all different shapes and sizes and just let your imagination go crazy. I've seen some really wild tumblers. I'm pretty low key when it comes to decorating. Um, I just like to create. It's
Mm-hmm.
just like I've several times on my tumblers I've worked with like alcohol inks, and
Oh, I've heard of those.
you can add the ink to your epoxy, like as you're so when you're doing tumblers, they're like on a spinner, so they have to spin constantly so that your epoxy dries and everything is smooth and uniform. So like when your tumbler is spinning, and you can just drop alcohol inks on it, and it just swirls, and it just makes, you never know how it's going to turn out, and it makes really neat designs. I mean, that's what I love. I love not really knowing how it's going to turn out. Just create.
And it sounds like they're
It's
one of a kind. Wouldn't it be very hard to
absolutely.
sort you wouldn't be able to duplicate that very easily, would you? I mean,
Exactly.
because
Exactly. And
it's
I
gonna,
love that.
hmm, that makes it a very unique for gifts as well, where um, if someone wanted something that not everyone had.
Yes.
So then your art space, that is your near your deck
Yes.
or on your
Yes.
deck.
Yeah,
And
it's on my deck, and we just have like, we're getting ready to redo it so that I have a real door and some windows. Um, we thought it was going to be temporary until we got me like a she shed, but
mm-hmm,
I really like the idea of it just being right out my back door. It
mm-hmm.
makes it really convenient when you're working on something. I mean, because like when you're working on tumblers, I mean, they have to spin for 24, 36 hours.
Oh,
So I check on them frequently to make sure that everything is going well. I've not had any issues with my spinner or anything like that.
or a
Um,
bug flying in.
exactly. One more reason why I need a real door.
I was thinking, oh my gosh. Uh, when you said it didn't have a door, I was thinking, well, who knows? That might be part of the art sometime. So,
Yeah, exactly.
well, my dad worked when I was a kid. He worked at a place that worked with resins, and it
Hmm.
affected his lungs. And that was way before OSHA and all the
Yeah.
regulations. And so, yes, it's very dangerous to breathe those fumes in, and you can actually get your skin can get burned from
Oh
fumes.
yeah, I mean it's a chemical. I mean, when like with this epoxy, it comes in two parts, and on their own they're not dangerous. Together,
Oh,
you got to mix them together to make the epoxy, and it's a chemical reaction. I mean, you really don't want it on your hands. I mean, I've ruined many a pair of t-shirt or pants. I try to wear the same thing out there because it doesn't come out.
oh,
So I've gotten to the point where I'll just make sure that I'm in my crafting clothes.
And I noticed that you had done a wreath with some, is that like sheet music or magazine? That's,
It is, yeah, actually, I'd forgotten about that one. That is my second wreath that I attempted. That is an old hymnal I had gotten, and I put all that together, and I love it. I think it is super cute. It's definitely different. Um, but it's interesting because like I say, I love to craft, but I struggle sometimes finding my own ideas. So I do a lot of looking. I mean, I'm online, I'm on Pinterest, I'm on
so
Etsy,
Pinterest.
and I'm just looking to see what people are doing. And then I just kind of make it my own.
Mm. So the wreath is not something that you typically do.
No, I do not typically do wreaths. It's funny because the ones I've done, they turn out fine, but it's just ultimately not my thing.
Mm.
I love the paint and I love the epoxy. I love, I have a love hate relationship with glitter now. Um,
Glitter goes
but
everywhere.
glitter does go everywhere and it's amazing. I'm like, I've never been a glitter person, but people love that stuff. They want it in everything.
So you have you do craft shows too, right?
Yes, I have done many craft shows throughout the years. Um, and that's something that's kind of stemmed from before. I've always been the kind of person who wants to keep busy. I mean, not that I wasn't busy enough because I've got three kids. I've always been plenty busy. Um, but I always kind of wanted something for myself. And for many years I tried direct sales. That was not for me. I did not want to peddle something that somebody else made. I couldn't do
Mm.
it very well, but I started going to vendor shows and craft fairs when I was selling for a direct sales company. And I was able to just continue with that with my crafts. And I love that. I love that atmosphere. It is so fun just to go and to talk to people and to see what everybody else is making, and it's a blast. I love it.
Um, and then you have sort of a permanent home for some of your items, right? A
Yes, I
store.
just started that. Yes, I just started that in February. There's a little shop in South Shore, Kentucky called Kentucky Crafters, and she has not been open for gosh, I don't know. I don't even think she's been open quite a year yet. But she has many different artisans in there, from woodwork to um, wreaths. And then I was able to set up a table of my crafts, and that has been absolutely wonderful. I love having my stuff at like an actual brick and mortar store
Mm-hmm.
where any, I mean, she has regular hours. People can come in and shop, and it's been wonderful. I stop in once a week usually, make sure my table is in order and replenish stuff as I make it. And it gets it out of my house too, because I just keep making stuff. And it was great being able to just take a load of it to the store and set it up and ultimately not have to worry about it because I had somebody there manning it. I mean, it's wonderful.
They're like an extension of your art studio.
Yes. Yes, it's great. I love it. And I love when someone is interested in something and I can say, look, all of my stuff is at Kentucky Crafters. Here's for hours. You should definitely stop by and check it out.
Awesome. So you do obviously a lot of gift items.
Yes.
So like can someone say, I like this. Can I get another red, black, and white pour type tumbler? You could do some custom stuff.
I um, can, and I have.
Mm-hmm.
But to be perfectly honest with you, custom stuff stresses me out a little bit. Um, my ideas and my vision is never quite like somebody else's.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very difficult not only to replicate what someone is thinking or wanting, but it's very difficult to please people.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I I just like to create. I mean, I'm not saying I don't do it, because there are occasions when, I mean, I just had an occasion where someone saw one of my sets of earrings and she said, "I love that. Can you add glitter to it and do it again?" I'm like, "Okay, add glitter to something I've already got. Not a big deal. I can do that."
Yeah.
And then she said, "Oh, wait, I love how that turned out. Can you do that again 2 more times?" Sure. Um, but yes, to answer your question, I can do custom orders. I try to keep things pretty simple, simply because it does stress me out a little bit. I have done many custom orders though.
It's so funny. I've talked to artists that that's all they do, and they just get tough. They were like, you can't let it bother you what people say or think, or if
Yeah.
they like it. And then others are like, and I can totally understand, is that it just makes me think I want to please them. What if they don't like it? I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just a whole. It's from one end to the other with that. So,
It is, and it's challenging because to me, I mean, like, I've probably only been selling for, I want to say, maybe 3 years now. But this started as a hobby, and uh it is a release for me, and it's fun. Stress takes the fun out of it.
oh yeah,
And
oh yeah.
I don't want to take the fun out of it. I don't want to dread creating,
Mhm.
or feel like feel the pressure. I mean, this is a stress-free, pressure-free hobby, and I like to keep it that way.
Yeah, I can understand that. So, well, I know that I didn't know you had three kids. I only
Yes.
know of one,
No.
but I know you were also a band mom. So let me ask
Yes.
you, with all three kids, being a band mom, and all of that goes with that, how have you had time to carve out? I know you have a full-time job, you're a mom and a wife and all that stuff. So how do you have time for all of that?
Well, my oldest two are adults and not in the house, so that helps.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my youngest, I when I think back to when I started this very serious crafting, I truly feel like I was looking ahead to my empty nest. And that worried
Oh.
me, because my son just is wrapping up his freshman year at college, and his 4 years of high school where were completely nonstop band, which was
Mm.
great. But me looking into the future, I'm going, what am I going to do when I don't have this, my son, and all of his band stuff going on? I will be bored stupid. And I don't do well being bored. I constantly want to be doing something. If I'm not crafting, I'm reading. Um, so I'm always occupying my mind.
Hmm.
Um, so I think that's where I kind of was with getting started in this also because I knew once he was gone away to college, I needed something to occupy my mind, occupy my time, and help with that transition.
Well, I think that's a wise choice. And I wouldn't have thought about planning for most people just get hit with it and then have some sort of adjustment that they have to go through because
Right.
it's such a big change.
Mhm.
Well, this podcast is called Bloom Where You're Planted, and I always ask people what that quote means to them. So, what does it mean to Renee?
I think that people, and I'm going to say especially women, go through many different seasons in their life. And with each season, there's opportunity. And that may look like a lot of different things for people. Um, but I think that in each of those seasons, it's truly important to grow in where you are, to take advantage of opportunities. I mean, just like in 2019 or 2018 when I have my youngest in high school, I thought, I'm going to go to college. So I'd always wanted to get my degree. And I thought, this is where I'm at right now. This is a good time for me to do this. And so I did. And I was thrilled with being able
Oh,
to grow where I needed to at that moment.
I didn't know you went back to school during those,
Yeah.
and that's not been terribly long ago.
No, it wasn't.
That's
I believe I started the fall of 2000 and might have been 2017. It was a 2-year program. And I graduated the end of 2020. So I was, it was great. I absolutely loved going back to school. I mean, it was all
oh,
online, but I loved it.
well, it sounds like you're a learner anyway. It just that's the
Yes.
impression I get when you're not learning new crafts, you're reading, and so that really sounds like it all fits together.
Yes.
So, what sort of advice would you offer to someone that either wants to do what you're doing or what you have done? And it can be any of those areas we've talked about.
I think that it's important um, to have an outlet and something that's all your own. And again, I think I will say, as a woman, as a mom, as a wife, you need something that is yours. And whether that's going back to school to get that degree or whether that is crafting, whatever that looks like for you, I believe you need something that is solely for you.
That's great advice. That's great advice. So, what is next for you? You have plans for some project?
I want to own my own store.
Oh,
I want to have my own business and full of my favorite things. So you would find crafts and anything that we can upcycle. I love doing that. Um, Books, lots of books. I absolutely adore books and probably coffee. So,
that sounds like a great combination. I love
I, I
upcycling
would,
projects. I think that's,
yes,
I'll find something and I have a hard time throwing it away.
yes,
I'm like, I could do
absolutely.
something with this.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that is my ultimate goal. I don't know when I'm going to get there, but someday I'll get there. But I want my own place.
I can, when you say coffee and books and crafts, I mean, the coffee part, there's
I
a
had
lot
you
of
at coffee.
possibilities. Well, there's a lot of possibilities with that. It sounds very social as
Yes.
well.
Yes. And that's part of what I loved about craft fairs. I loved when people would stop and chat with me.
Mm-hmm.
And just like there's an event here in South Shore, Kentucky that goes on every year, our quilt festival. I set up there every year and I see the same people. And most of them are locals that I've not seen in a year. And it's wonderful. And I would really love to have a shop in my community where I see people all the time, whether they just stop in for a cup of coffee or just stop in to say hi. I love that. And I really want that.
What a great concept, especially since I'll just say very quickly that since our pandemic of what was it, 2021, um, is that it's harder for people to connect in the same way that they used to. Plus, technology and, you know,
Absolutely.
there's just a lot of things that keep people from really, just having that sitting down with a cup of coffee or instead of just sending a quick text or something.
Absolutely.
So that's admirable. I think you'll get there. I'm sure you'll get
Ah,
there. So,
thank you. I hope so.
well, I think our time is about come to close, and I just want to, let's keep in touch and see the progress of what you're doing. And you must be able to hear the barking bow at this point.
I truly can't. That's
Oh,
so
well,
funny.
that's good. It's only driving me nuts.
Oh,
So
I heard it. He just needs a little extra love.
he's on a different floor even. So anyway, so Renee, I want to thank you so much for coming on to the podcast and sharing all of your creativity. And like I said, let's keep in touch and on progress on your dream. So
Thank you so much. I'm so glad you asked.
So this is the Bloom Where You're Planted podcast, sponsored by Never Too Late Cafe. And I'm Laura Womack, your host, saying bye for now. So bye, Renee.
Bye, Laura.